Narayana Murthy has done it again. A year after his call for a 70-hour work week, he's doubled up.
I don't believe in work-life balance. I was disappointed in 1986 when we moved from 6-day week to 5-day week.
No, Mr. Murthy, Indians don't need to work longer hours to fix our productivity issues. Honestly, we're already working way too long. Look, every time he makes a statement like this, it sparks heated debates. And as always, the internet is divided. Some support him, some others call him out, and of course, the memes are everywhere. But this week, let's settle this once and for all. First, let me make it clear. I'm not against hard work or putting in long hours. I'm not a slacker. But asking everyone to work 70 hours a week for nation building, that's not just misguided, it's dangerous, it's anti-poor, and it's anti-women. Let me explain. Many of us work much longer than the stipulated 48 hours a week, even on weekends when required. And we do it because we want to. And the same argument holds for people like Elon Musk or Jack Ma or Prime Minister Modi, who claim that they've worked over 70 to 80 hours a week to get where they've gotten. The key here is choice. The issue with Narayana Murthy, someone who's seen as a role model by millions of Indians making such statement, is that he's putting pressure on a workforce that's already under immense pressure. But hey, before I get started, let me remind you there's another way you can contribute to nation building. By keeping the media independent and ensuring that we remain the watchdogs of those in power. And I can assure you that we work very, very hard in bringing you the stories that matter. By the way, this is the 50th episode of Let Me Explain. 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 And as part of this, we're giving 500 rupees off for the first 50 people who take up an NL and TNM subscription. So go on then, scan this QR code or click the link in the description below and become a subscriber. And before I go any further, I want to thank the people behind the show. Nikhil, who's our editor, Bhuvan and Megha, who are our producers, and Ajay, who's behind the camera. And all of you who've made this possible. In the description, we've put 5 episodes that are our favorites. Do watch them and tell me what you think of them. And if you don't agree that these are the top 5 episodes, then do write to me at pooja@thenewsminute.com and tell me which ones you like better. Indians are already some of the hardest working people in the world. If you don't believe me, look at this report. According to the ILO, we work an average of 48 hours a week, ranking 6th globally, higher than China, Vietnam, or even the US. But guess what? Working more hours doesn't mean being more productive. India ranks 126th globally in terms of productivity. Why? Because productivity isn't just about how long you work. Our low productivity stems from systemic issues. A large informal sector with low wages, minimal investment in technology and skills, and poor infrastructure that slows everything down. Take the example of Henry Ford, the American industrialist and founder of Ford Motors. In 1920s, he cut down the work week from 48 to 40 hours because he believed that shorter hours would boost productivity. And guess what? He was right. Much recently, experiments like Microsoft Japan's 4-day work week showed a 40% productivity increase. Even in India, the 8-hour work week has not come to workers easily. It's been won through labor movements and strikes after years of struggle by workers facing long hours and poor conditions, particularly in industries like textile and plantation. And finally, the Factories Act of 1948 was passed to enforce the 8-hour workday, and it was passed to protect workers' rights. In our directive principles, Article 43 and Article 42 speaks about the decent standard of living for workers and humane conditions. But this does not mean the rights of our workers have always been protected. Many state governments keep trying to chip away at these protections. For instance, Karnataka, under Bommai's BJP government, extended the hours of working to 12 hours a day. This amendment that was brought in 2023, according to sources, was after Apple and its manufacturing partner Foxconn were involved in lobbying for a significant relaxation of labor laws in Karnataka. The Congress government that came to power later hasn't pulled back these laws and in fact held discussions on increasing working hours of IT employees. This is because labour rights fall under the concurrent list, allowing both union and state governments to legislate. In 2023, Tamil Nadu too tried to amend the Factories Act to allow 12-hour workdays with 3-hour weekend option. But the move faced strong protests from labour unions and political allies, and the amendment was finally withdrawn within just days. The reasoning given is that we need to compete with other countries so we can bring in companies to India. But here's the thing. Other nations like Iceland, New Zealand and Japan are experimenting with shorter work weeks and are seeing great results and great productivity too. In 2018, New Zealand tried this by compressing the work hours into 4 days instead of 5, and they saw productivity increase and employees' well-being significantly improve. Let's look at Japan, a country Mr. Murthy quoted as an example. Microsoft Japan conducted an experiment in August 2019 where they introduced a 4-day work week for 2,300 of their employees. The aim was to improve productivity and better work-life balance. The results were striking. Productivity increased by nearly 40% and employees were significantly happier, with 92% of them reporting positive experiences. The 8-hour work week was designed keeping in mind the 8-8-8 formula. 8 hours of work, 8 hours of rest, and 8 hours of personal time where you can do anything you want, including spending time with friends and family. I don't need to tell you the adverse effects of working really long hours on mental and physical health. But longer working hours are also anti-women. Why? The reality is, in India, women bear the brunt of unpaid domestic work. Adding longer hours creates an impossible balancing act, leaving women overworked and undervalued. It's not just unfair, it's unsustainable. Trying to seem more productive at work and attempting to balance other responsibilities at home. This creates a cycle of fatigue, guilt, and anxiety, where women are expected to match the pace of their male counterparts, but without the same support structure. The Time Use survey conducted by the Government of India in 2019 paints a clear picture of how men and women spend their time. Women put in 84% of their working hours on unpaid tasks, while men spend 80% of theirs on paid work. And when it comes to cooking in India, only 6% of the men get involved, and just 8% of them help with household cleaning. Upper caste men and women have the most time for things like self-care and sleep, and people from marginalized communities like SC and ST, both men and women, get the least time for self-care. And Mr. Murthy's example of Prime Minister Modi working long hours, here's the thing. Why is the burden of nation building always placed on the workers, whether it's a laborer building roads in the heat or a techie slogging at his desk? And if we are serious about nation building, Mr. Murthy, let's talk about other solutions. For example, in 2019, the base corporate tax was reduced from 30% to 22%. Corporate tax, by the way, is levied on the profits of businesses. Now, what if we reverse this and ask corporations to contribute more? Or how about a small inheritance tax on wealth above 100 crores? This obviously impacts only the rich and helps a great deal in filling the exchequer's coffers. Or a wealth tax, perhaps. Economist Ram Kumar says that if we tax the top 1% wealth holders in this country an annual wealth tax of just 2%, you get a total of 6.6 lakh crores every single year. Instead of pushing our workers harder, let's invest in skill development, better tools, and better infrastructure. Because a mason without the right tools or a doctor without the right equipment won't magically become more productive by just working long hours. If we really want to build this nation, let's fix all these inefficiencies in our systems instead of overburdening our people.